the longer that we are in the United States, I feel like there is more of a disconnect to the culture and to the history and all of that, everything that makes this community who we are. I believe that culture changes, and that's okay. At the same time, I think that it is important to know your history, to know your roots, so that you can make sense of the world around you.
I don't tell my children as much as he does, but I do try to keep the traditions like the Cambodian New Year, the unity ceremony at the end of the year. I teach them how to cook traditional Cambodian food. Most of the time, he's the one telling the stories of what he went through.
When I started learning about America, I was about 6, 7 years old. They show us like little video or stuff like that, small little black and white TV. It's amazing, Like I wonder how it'd be like to live in the U.S.
It was in 1979 that I first heard about the Khmer Rouge genocide. And the pictures, the images of genocide were so haunting that they never left me. They stayed with me for years and years.
អូខេបើនិយាយថាពីព្រលឹមទល់ព្រលប់ពេលហ្នឹងដូចថាយើងធ្វើពលកម្មធ្វើការហ្នឹងណាញ៉ាំតែប៉ុណ្្នឹងធ្វើការហួសចំណុះកម្លាំង work ហើយគេងកំបានហើយឃ្លានផងហើយមួយឆ្នាំទល់មួយឆ្នាំទៅហ្មងពេលហ្នឹងដល់ពេលហ្នឹងពេលក៏ខ្ញុំដឹងពេលខ្ញុំដឹងក្រោយហ្នឹងដល់ពេលហ្នឹងមិនដឹងថាមិនដៅហ្នឹងជាប់តែជាក្នុងមួយស្រះទឹកហ្នឹងជាប់តែជាង600នាក់ទឹកក្នុងជ្រៅដៅហ្នឹងក្នុងស្រះហ្មងណាដាក់ជាង600នាក់ហ្នឹងទៅជាអត់មានទឹកបដ ாய் លលួយស្អុយហ្នឹងហ្មងប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំហ្នឹងគេយកខ្ញុំទៅចូលចែកដីចូលខ្ញុំចែកដីទាំង3នាក់ហ្នឹងគេឡកហើយអត់ឲ្យប៉ុន្តែវាមានគេសម្លាប់ខ្ញុំនៅក្នុងហ្នឹងគាត់ឲ្យដឹងគេមិនឲ្យគេដឹងណាដល់ពេលឲ្យសម្លាប់ខ្ញុំទាំង3នាក់ដោយសម្លាប់ទាំងចែកដីឲ្យយើងក្នុងចែកដីហ្នឹងស្លាប់ដល់ខ្លួនឯងអត់ទៅហើមដកអត់អីចឹងប៉ុន្តែវាចេះចែកដីហ្នឹងវា crack តិចមកវាមានប្រហោងយើងដកទៅហើមតាមហ្នឹងម្ដងម្នាក់
เอาไปស្រុកខ្មែរមកស្រុកថៃហ្នឹងតាមអតិកោរត់នៅពេលយប់ប្រហែលជា4ថ្ងៃបានមកដល់ព្រំដែនជាពិសេសបើសិនជាយើងសង្ងំនៅព្រំដែនហ្នឹងវាគ្រោះថ្នាក់ជាទីបំផុតទី1ខ្មែរក្រហមទី2យួនទាហានយួនដែលវាវាយមកម្ដងយើងនៅកណ្ដាលហ្នឹងតែងតែមានគ្រោះថ្នាក់ជានិច្ចនៅក្នុងចរំហ្នឹងហាក់ដូចជាគុកមួយដែលគេឃុំឃាំងយើងហើយខ្ញុំមើលឃើញទៅជំរំហ្នឹងគេធ្វើហើយគេពាត់លបងបលាលួសជុំវិញហ្នឹងហើយមានពួកទាហាននឹងយាមគ្រប់ទិសសង្ឃឹមថានៅក្នុងចរំហ្នឹងថ្ងៃណាមួយគេនឹងជួយយើងឧទាហរណ៍ដូចជាប្រទេសអាមេរិកប្រទេសដទៃទៀតយកយើងទៅប្រទេសទី3
We heard so much about United States is the land of freedom, you can make your dream come true. First I settled down in Berkeley, California, and most of Cambodia would settle down either in West Oakland or East Oakland. And they're not worried about whether it's a good school or, violent because that's the only place you can afford. So for me, I feel lucky that my sister was looking for us to have that studio apartment in Berkeley.
It was 35 years later that I was offered a job to work with Cambodian refugees. So these were people who survived the genocide. And then they were resettled in the United States in horrible neighborhoods of Oakland. And they were living with grief and fear and nightmares and suffering from severe depression, so we had to do something. A group of us decided to hold them while I was looking for an agency to take them, and I wasn't able to find one. And so CERI had to be founded as a grassroots nonprofit organization to provide services for these refugees.
Mona really is to be commended for creating CERI. She came up with the name, she came up with the concept, she works day and night to keep it alive, and I came along for the ride and have stayed now for probably 17 years.
It's hard for us that grew up in the mid '80s. My parents filed for for government assistance, like housing, Section 8. I was raised around all the Black American community, Hispanic. It was hard because I didn't know, I can't speak in English or understand English or read or write. And basically, I started everything from ground zero, trying to learn the American life.
And people are, picking at you. During that time, they don't even know why we're here. It seems like we're a new species in this country, and people calling us, Chinamen, stuff like that, and picking on us. And usually you get jumped or picked on, so you really gotta fight back. In order to survive this environment, you really just gotta turn into a dog like they wanted you to. So
ពេលខ្លះកូនខ្ញុំទី2នឹងនៅសាលារៀនធ្លាប់វាយក៏ប៉ុន្តែមកផ្ទះវិញប្រាប់ខ្ញុំថាគេចាប់ផ្ដើមមុនមិនមែនកូនខ្ញុំទៅរើរឿងគេទេហើយខ្ញុំតែងតែនិយាយប្រាប់កូនថាបើសិនជាក្មេងណាថាឲ្យកូនត្រូវដើរចេញកុំឲ្យបកករឿងតែបើសិនជាគេវាយកូនត្រូវតគេវិញអានឹងដែលខ្ញុំប្រាប់កូនតែបើសិនជាគេគ្រាន់តែស្ដីថាកូនត្រូវដើរចេញកុំឲ្យបកករឿង
When my mom say fight back, don't come home crying, that was the best day of my life, I could say. Because we was getting bullied so much and our parents don't understand because they first generation, they don't understand how we living right now. They living from the countryside and now we in the city, a land in Oakland, a land of pimps, drug dealer. It's so much crime in this city that if you weak, you became prey. So when you say fight back, and we start fighting back, that's when we earned a lot of our respect, and people start bullying us.
There was a lot of older Cambodian people that involved in that gang activity and stuff. I look at them, it's like that's the only thing I seen every day that it's like people have money, I don't see no businessmen around this community, The businessman is a drug dealer,
I recently had a community member come to me for support about their immigration status. And so we had a conversation about his history in the United States when he came to the States and the circumstances that brought the family here. And he didn't know anything about it. He's in his 40s and he knows nothing about his family situation. And so there's a lot of unanswered questions. When things don't get addressed, when things don't get healed, there's no healthy outlet for folks to deal with the trauma. And so you see it show up in things like gambling addictions or alcohol addictions, and then in their kids with violence or with sexual exploitation or in unhealthy relationships. That happens a lot.
So we are in East Oakland, right off of 20th and International, and the building right behind me is pretty much where I grew up at, where all my childhood took place at. It was a lot of domestic violence here, a lot of chaos, a lot of fightings between my parents and the neighbors here. So my mom was an alcoholic. She drank, I would say almost every single day. So the days that we were at school, when we would come back home, my mom would already be leaning against a car, where men pretty much touched upon her. I didn't really think too much of it, but I just always had the thought in my head that I didn't like the men that were around take advantage of my mom. So it was a lot going on. I looked up to my brother so much, and my brother was also involved with crimes himself. And my brother used to always ask me, oh, do you know of any homes that you go to that we can like burglarize, or anyone that we can rob and things like that? And from there on, we committed as many crimes as we could, from committing robberies, burglarizing homes, breaking into cars, taking stolen cars. So we were going out for joyriding, started picking up on smoking weed, drinking, pretty much having the time of our life. We didn't have to go home. We didn't have to go to school. We didn't have to attend to nobody. When we needed money, we went out there and robbed somebody. When we wanted to eat, we went and robbed somebody. It was a good high. I felt really light, like I had control of my own life. I did what I wanted to and when I wanted to. I had nobody around that yelled at me, and we lived off of our 31-day bus pass. And that's how we were traveling from Oakland to Fremont, back and forth, committing all of our crimes. Well, both of my parents didn't know that they knew I was just cutting school and doing things like that, but they didn't know I was committing any crimes up until we went to JCPenney in Hayward, Southland Mall, and stole a few items. And we were sent down to the Hayward police station. My dad, who I know really cared and loved me, tried to question me, but it got to the point where my dad didn't even care anymore. Like, he got so angry, and my dad was like, well, if you want to go out and be a prostitute, you go out there and be a prostitute. And at that point, I just gave up, and I'm just like, and I was in tears. Like, I would never think that the man that I really love would tell me something like that. And when I got released, my mom and dad took me straight down to Mona, and that's when we started having our little family counseling, where Mona, I felt like out of all of the people and all of the people that I've come across, they've always wanted to be some sort of like authority figure, like, you need to do this, you need to do that, without listening to me. Like, I understand that I'm a kid and I'm supposed to listen and I'm supposed to do things, but I felt like nobody was taking the time to really listen to me and to understand me and to see the issues, the problems that I was having and why I was acting the way that I was acting. And Mona was the only person that took the time to really listen and hear me out. In a way, it was like, why are you doing this, but she never said anything. She just listened. And not only that, she opened up her agency to me, where instead of me coming back out here to commit crimes and doing all of these things, she opened up her doors to her agency for me to come in and do some volunteer work. At first, I was actually doing it just for probation, but then once I think I started doing the probation, Mona paid me like $15. I'm like, okay, well, I don't have to commit any crime to get this $15. Like, this is easy money.
We're a community that is very traumatized, and oftentimes we don't know where that stems from. And then you see it show up in the second generation, and also now the third generation of folks who are growing up here. And if we don't address and deal with where all these issues can stem from or has been rooted, then it is bound to repeat itself, and then otherwise you're dealing with it in very unhealthy ways.
It's amazing to work with Cambodian Americans because there's such a protective quality to this community, and a lot of our elders have, in their protection, have chosen not to tell their story because they've been worried that telling their story would traumatize their children and grandchildren. And that is such a lovely gift to give to their children, that hope for that. Unfortunately, I think sometimes what happens with that is that it becomes really confusing for the youth.
The difficulties of living in the United States has been overwhelming for them. When those stresses get worse, for instance, deportations, there was a time when the government decided to take away their Social Security benefits unless they became naturalized. Everything fell apart. And so the children are not able to advocate for themselves well enough to become productive students and therefore to become productive citizens.
I don't feel comfortable asking my grandparents or my parents about the war or like the refugee camps because I feel like if I was to ask them about that, it would be like opening up a wound that's already being healed. I never wanted to ask my dad because my dad was always afraid of being deported. And I remember that he actually brought that up one time when I was in middle school. He had asked me, how would you feel if I was to be deported?
My parents told me that my dad did commit a crime because they knew that it was going to impact our future. And I barely knew that he was an immigrant or anything. All I knew was he carried a green card and he had to do check-ins and everything. Once it was happening, my mother actually started telling me more information about what he was going through and how my stepfather was able to be deported.
I don't think they understood what deportation is until it happened to us. We never talked about it. But with Motor God and Choo Choo, they understood more because I brought them everywhere. The other kids, they're like, where's Daddy? Kind of ignored it for the first couple hours, but after like the night came, when's Daddy coming home? Oh, he went fishing with your uncle in Philadelphia. He'll be back in a few weeks. I didn't know what to say.
Knowing that my stepfather was going to be detained and might be deported, I did a few more things around the house, and it's just like things that he would probably do. And my mom did like 5 times more than what she normally did. A lot of my grades did drop when he was gone. And I just missed, just talking to him in general.
I was detained in ICE detention for around approximately 3 months. I've been gone quite some time.
One day, I had a phone call from the school, my son's school, that he told the teacher, his dad died. So I didn't really know what to do. And that's when Elijah said, I think we need to tell the kids the truth. Let's pull everybody together. Junior was kind of mad at me when I did tell him the truth. He said all kind of bad things, like he don't want to see his dad. And I couldn't talk anymore. Like he now thinks his dad is a criminal. They never seen their dad do anything bad. So with me telling them their dad did something wrong, I don't know how to explain it. If he was deported, I think it would really kill them. It would really hurt them that I lied. And he would be this criminal that they never knew of. And I would be this big time liar. And now I don't like both of my parents.
We'll come back.
My brother's home.
Mama, she was mad. She's mad at you. I know.
No, she's mad because she just. Oh, I see.
Where's Mama? Oh, Mama. You happy, Mama? Daddy home.
Somebody back alive. Somebody back. Clean the onions. Oh, now she's happy. Becky ride. Becky ride.
You want Becky ride?
Becky ride.
Oh, you gonna do that all night?
Me next. Me next.
No. Yay! You got Daddy now. She's happy now.
Now she's happy. Who's gonna have that? Junior? Choo-choo?
I feel really happy, like I'm overwhelmed. It's like it still doesn't feel real that he's here. Like I feel like this is just a dream, but
when I found out I was released, I was like, whew, finally I'm out of here. And, you know, got home. I don't know what to expect from the kids, you know.
Walking in was different. They were jumping on him, but they were crying.
It was a blessing, you know. You can't expect everybody to like, be all joyful, cheer, like, yeah, they cry, you know. They like, oh, Dad, Mama been lying to you all this time.
I was in prison and I'm tired of the same old lifestyle. And I started picking up National Geographic, start reading it. And my first one, it was about Yosemite Park. And I found myself that I want to go do what people was in National Geographic was doing. And I promised myself I'm gonna do that. My first time in Yosemite, it was a different world. You know, it's just like what I imagined in the magazine that I saw. You know, the waterfall, the greenery and stuff. And I always saying I'm gonna be on top of that waterfall. And when I got up there, it's like you're on top of the world. You know, it's like you so high, like smoking whatever you smoke on, even weed, marijuana, whatever. It's the best feeling. It's the most high that any kind of drug that you could take. I want the young folks to learn about my life so they won't make the same mistake. I do not want them to go through what I went through because I'm a little lucky. I don't want them to make the mistake that cost them their life in jail for the rest of their life or they end up dead. I see what's going on in our community and I love this community. That's all I know is Oakland. But to me, I was one of these persons that contribute to why Oakland is Oakland right now. I was a bad person. I was destroying my community. The community came together and all the elders put an endless hour, even CERI and Asians Prisoner and Asian Caucus. You know, we all came together as a community just to support us. And by them doing that and through all the rally, and I ended up getting a pardon, you know, for my crime. And I was facing deportation. I was supposed to be on a plane July 1st, and now I'm here, you know, and I'll forever be grateful. You know, that's why I'm paying it back, because to me, I feel like I had obligation, you know, to give back.
I think one of the biggest issues is like being able to have conversation, like what we're doing now. We're changes begin with the conversation. Like, talk about it, especially Cambodian people. Like, we learn to endure suffering and not really like address it.
Our elders in our community and communities living here have witnessed torture, death, and experienced suffering and shameful suffering such as rape and sexual violence, sex trafficking. And these are really hard issues to talk about. I really do believe, you know, sharing your vulnerabilities is a strength, because you think your suffering is alone, you think you're the only one that went through it. And then to understand and learn that my parents went through the same type of suffering and they felt alone. These are the conversations I want to have with my family and my brothers and sisters. And it's so hard to have that conversation.
Being silent, for example, we just basically accepting the status quo. If we don't speak, if we don't educate, we don't let people know that this is wrong. We need to come together and work together and fix the problem together if we want a different result than the status quo.
Yes, Malai, what you have mentioned, education is key to solving the problems or addressing the problems. And also, I definitely want to add personal storytelling, especially coming from those that have experienced like gender violence, war, trauma. People do not want to hear it from like people that have not experienced it. It makes more sense to hear from someone because it brings a sense of vulnerability. Like myself, if I'm willing to put myself out there and share my story, share my worst, my greatest, my shame, my pain, they can connect with me like, wow, exactly, she went through what I had went through.
So when it was announced that ICE was going to come for people in the Bay Area, I took it really personal. Teaching at Laney and teaching Southeast Asians in the US and being the only Cambodian lecturer at Laney, I get a lot of Khmer students in my class. And all of my Khmer students, their family members were Hai, Ruan, TJ, Kang, thank you. Their family members were those four, right? And I knew when ICE came for Oakland, they came for all of Oakland. They might have only like got 3 folks from Oakland, but they came for all of Oakland. And I think at that moment I was like, we shouldn't endure anymore. Like, we're gonna throw hands with ICE. And we went hard. We went hard for 3 months. APSC was like doing like the teaching and organizing. ALC was doing the legal end, and CERI was doing the mental health, holding the families, making sure they're okay. And not only that, the world was watching, right? We got 2 pardons, folks were getting out, folks got their cases vacated, so they weren't gonna get deported anymore. And at that moment, I think all of us knew, like, wow, we fought and we won.
This community feels empowered and feels like they can really change policies, you know. I mean, the fact that they were here at 6 in the morning to go to ICE, to rally in front of ICE building, to go to Sacramento and rally in front of the governor's office, to talk to these legislators and say, you know, we don't want our children to be deported, listen to us, you know. And they made a difference. They were able to get 2 pardons. They were able to get 2 cases vacated, you know. That has shown that this community feels empowered.
When the situation arises from the government or the community elsewhere of bigotry and incarceration, the whole community has to feel healthy and strong so they can be empowered to say what they need to say, to protect themselves, to get what they deserve as citizens of the United States. The youth don't frequently come to me. A few do. What they need is to feel the strength of community and their personal strength so that they can advocate for themselves.
If these people need help, I will welcome them. I mean, I will welcome them with open arms because their life, I've been there. I mean, we live a similar life. It's a street life. No matter you're a pimp, drug dealer, or gangster. I mean, people could change, but you gotta help yourself. Meet us halfway, and we go from there.